morning, Zumpark!
Good morning, Zumpark. I'm Bex, and that's Marc, and we are GMZ.
GMZ. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and festivities, etc.
And all kinds of festivities. Feliz Navidad and all that shit.
Yes, everything.
I thought we'd done for the year. What is this bollocks you're coming up with?
Well, I thought this is... You know me, I like a bit of end of year bollocks.
You do.
I do love a bit of bollocks at the end of the year.
I'm just minding my own business, like stuffing chocolate in my face and watching Vicar of Dibley reruns, and you're there like going, should we do another podcast, Bex?
I can't help it. I can't sit still. I've had too many days of just sitting there opening presents, gorging myself like a fucking hamster that thinks it's good, it's running out of food, and then alcohol just dripping it over myself and setting a light to myself like I'm a Christmas pudding. I've had so many days of doing this that I was going stir crazy. So I thought, let's do a celebration of Good Mornings on POC. Let's do a celebration of 2018, because 2018 has not been the best year.
It's been a shit year.
It's been a shit year. It's been divisive. The world is, separated into different camps and different categories. And I think what we need to do is to settle everything once and for all, Bex, to really unite the people of Great Britain and the world.
Okay.
It's going to be a big podcast. We're going to unite the people of the world by talking about the news stories that really matter.
Now, you say a big podcast, like... Yeah. I'm not talking to you for any longer than half an hour.
No, I don't mean big in size. I mean big in stature,
Oh.
I think...
Like a robust lady.
A robust lady of a podcast. Because, we talk about in the news, well, not me personally, but people talk about in the news about Brexit and Trump and austerity and,
It's all so depressing, isn't it?
It's all very depressing. But I think we shouldn't talk about zombies this week. Just 1 week off where we don't talk about zombies, we don't talk about the end of the world, we don't talk about the apocalypse, don't talk about books or films or nothing like that. But we talk about the news stories that matter to us, me and you.
Okay. That sounds like a jolly good idea. I like this idea.
You say it jolly good, like an English person would reply to an email. Oh, this sounds positive.
Yours faithfully.
Yours faithfully. And what you then you turn around and look over your shoulder to your colleague and go, what is this prick on about?
He's not getting a fucking yours faithfully next time, mate. He's getting a regards.
A regards. Whoa. I'm drinking my Christmas bourbon, which is delicious.
I'm drinking my Christmas red wine, which is also equally as delicious.
Delicious. Right, who's going first? Me or you? Who has a news story that you'd like to talk about?
So I'll go first. And I know you said we're not going to talk about zombies.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about zombies.
Oh, okay. Well, that's break rule number 1 in part number 1. That's good. Good.
Yeah, because I'm a rebel.
You are.
So my story is back a little bit further back in the year. Scientists managed to actually bring pig brains back to life.
Yeah.
So these were pig brains that had been slaughtered, and they managed to keep them alive for about 36 hours.
Yep.
After death. So they kind of pumped them full of blood and some kind of brain thing that I don't really understand because I'm not a neuroscientist.
Yeah.
But yes, they managed to keep pig brains alive for 36 hours after death. And they said they weren't conscious, if that makes sense, because obviously they're not in anything, so the brains can't talk to you, but they were aware, so they had awareness.
Yeah.
Which brings me to, I just thought it was amazing. It seems like some kind of Futurama type of shit where you're just floating around like a brain in a jar.
Yeah, and
like knowing what's going on around you but not being able to communicate. That must be really awful. I don't like it.
Well, I read a little bit more into this story, Bex, and what the leading scientists and psychologists have been saying about this is yes, it's very well to bring a pig's life back to life, and you can bring a human's brain back to life, or a monkey's brain back to life, because they're all very similar, and you could do that for a certain amount of time. But the ethical question is, should we?
Why?
Because why? But a brain is essentially, it's a way of understanding and being able to put together all those electrical impulses in our, it needs input all the time, constant input from the rest of your body. So if you take off the constant input, is it even a brain? Is it even functioning?
Yeah, they were saying that the brain could kind of almost go mad.
Yeah.
So the brain is used to having, like you said, all these neural functions going on, like things zipping to and from it all the time, lots of nerves, lots of receptors. And if you take that away from the brain, is it even a brain anymore?
Yeah. And some people said it could be the worst kind of living hell. It would literally be insane in the brain, insane in the membrane. Yeah, be insane in the membrane, and you wouldn't be able to exit. You wouldn't be able to get. You'll be trapped in that.
Yeah,
insanity.
because you couldn't even kill yourself because you can't move. You're just a brain.
There is no function.
So you're just sitting, bobbing in this little glass jar for all of eternity.
And I think that's a really good start to our not depressing, bleak podcast with the most depressing.
Yeah, I feel like I've just depressed everybody even more.
I mean,
but no, I thought it was a really interesting story, and it's like I think it kind of raises the question that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, I agree. And
so just because I can eat 3 slices of cake after my dinner doesn't mean I should.
And you know what? To take the Futurama analogy a little bit further, did you see the name of the company that actually did this? The technology that they used, what the company's called?
Well, I know they said, was it because it was...
It's the most cartoonish name ever. Imagine if you was...
BrainX.
BrainX. So if you're working for, Warner Brothers and you're making a cartoon, instead of writing Acme, we're doing a brain today, we'll write BrainX.
BrainX, yeah. It is the most cartoony name ever.
Yeah, and obviously if someone come up to you and said, we want to test your brain, we're from BrainX, you'd be like, no. You sound evil. Obviously, you sound evil. Okay, so I've got another story for you.
Okay.
And this story it sounds like the most ridiculous and stupid story at first, but when you look into it, it's not as bad as it seems. So there's a man in Colorado who survives, this year he survived both a shark and bear attack. The same man, he survived an attack by a bear. So the bear actually got into his tent, put his jaws around his head, right, and caused him lots of stitches and lacerations. And then later that same year, he had an incident with a shark where he had to beat a shark away from him while he was surfing in Australia. So he got bitten by a shark on a leg, he got bitten by a bear on the head, and the same man in the same year. This is why it sounds stupid, because his actual words were, I don't seem to have a lot of luck, but it's kind of lucky in unlucky situations.
That is the best quote ever. I'm just wondering, is he washing his underpants in some kind of meat derivative? Is this why all these sharks and bears keep going for him?
Yeah, and I read into the story, and he comes out with some classic quotes. He told the local media he didn't know if he lost his leg or what, but he just started swimming and punching, and he's asked about about the shark, and he said, my mum was worried about it, but I wasn't that bothered and stuff like that, and he comes across,
as long as his mum was worried.
Yeah, he comes across, he's 20 years old, he comes across as a complete fucking moron.
Idiot.
And there must be a lot of people of our age and older who are thinking, fucking millennials, what morons. But when you read about him a little bit further, he teaches being an outdoorsman. He was brought up by his uncle being an outdoorsman.
Well, he needs to fucking learn how to stay away from bears and sharks then, doesn't he?
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't want him teaching me how to survive when he's been eaten by a bear and a shark in the same year.
Yeah. So I read further into this guy, right? And he said, I don't blame the shark, I don't blame the bear, and I don't blame the rattlesnake. And I was like, what?
He can be bit by a rattlesnake as well.
At 17 years old, he was walking down a trail. He kicked what he thought was a cactus that turned out to be a rattlesnake called up.
Oh, that's brilliant. Why would you kick a cactus, though? It's spiky.
It's still stupid, whichever way you look at it. So,
yeah.
But he then got bit by the rattlesnake, and then he took a look at it, and he thought, that's a dry bite. There was no venom. But it turns out there was a little bit of venom, and he was very sick for a few days.
I think maybe the universe is telling him something, maybe he should just...
But I kind of admire him. I've read a few news stories on the guy, and I kind of admire him because he said we have to respect animals' boundaries, but I think I was invading or provoking. I don't think I was invading or provoking the attacks. They just happened. I just happen to be outdoors a lot. I still go hiking. I still catch rattlesnakes. I will still swim in the ocean. He said, when they asked him if he's going to have any other further brushes with dangerous wildlife, he said, I hope not, but I spend most of my time outside with the animals, so I guess it will happen again. I kind of like him.
Just don't go outside. I just wouldn't go outside.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got to admire the guy. That's all I'm saying. So what have you got for us next, Bex? What other happening news story have you got for us?
So this one, I absolutely couldn't believe, but it is probably my favourite story in the history of stories.
Yep.
So a man from Texas in America, obviously, he has gone to jail. I'll tell you how long he got in a minute, but he has gone to jail for stealing $1.2 million worth of fajitas.
Fajitas? How do you steal 1.5 million? Were they still sizzling while he was stealing them?
Well, this is what I thought, because I'm there reading this obviously the news headline and thinking, how the fuck does one steal $1.2 million worth of fajitas?
Yeah.
And this is how.
Oh, so hang on. What he did was he went into Chiquitos and ordered 1.2 million.
All of the fajitas.
All of the fajitas. Can I have every fajita that Chiquitos
and they ran
has?
out with them.
And then him and all his friends ate them, and then they did a run on it, and they didn't pay the bill.
I mean, could you eat $1.2 million worth of fajitas in one sitting?
You'd have to take a lot of friends with you.
Because I've just had like £3 worth of fajitas for my tea, and I couldn't finish them.
No, how did he really steal them, Bex?
So he worked for like the Department of Corrections or something like that, and he was in charge of ordering food for the establishment, and he'd ordered these fajitas and hadn't. The only reason why he was found out is because he was off one day for a medical appointment, and the bloke who delivers the fajitas phoned up and spoke to somebody else and said, look, I've got all these fajitas, but I'm going to be a bit late or something like that. And they said, well, we don't even serve fajitas here.
Yeah.
So we don't know why.
We don't even serve fajitas.
We don't know why you're delivering all these fajitas.
Yeah.
And the bloke said, well, you know, I've been delivering fajitas to you for like 10 years, so you must serve them.
No.
So basically, he'd been ordering these fajitas and like intercepting them and then like selling them on to different people. It's like, why are you going to buy backstreet fajitas? I don't get it. But do you know how long he got in prison? And I feel like this is really disproportionate to the crime.
Wait, I mean, it is a lot of money, but they are only fajitas. So
exactly.
I would think 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. I don't know.
50 years.
That's ridiculous. There are murderers who get less.
He will be dead by the time he gets out of prison. I was going to say out of hospital. Out of prison. He will be dead.
Insane. That's absolutely bonkers.
50 years for stealing fajitas.
So there's a couple of, obviously, lessons we can learn from this particular news story. Number one is there is a backstreet fajita trading going on in the back streets of a city somewhere. There are people like, "Hi mate, you got any fajitas?" And the guy's like,
"This is true though, because like I live in Salford, as you know, and you can pretty much get anything in Salford off the back of a lorry. Like some people will come around with blocks of cheese for you to buy." Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that happening, where people would come out and try and sell you blocks of cheese.
Yeah.
I would never buy it though. I was always a bit dubious about where the cheese.
Well, no. Why would you buy some sweaty cheese that had been in someone's pocket?
Exactly, or even worse. Okay, so the next story that I have, is I don't think it's as bad as what it seems in the headline, but is Barbra Streisand clones her dogs. Now, this is about in March this year. Barbra Streisand did an interview with Variety magazine where she said she missed her dog so much that she had 2 new dogs created using the cells of her old dog. Now, there are lots of people who are very negative about this and said, you know, it cost tens of thousands of pounds to do this procedure, by the way, Bex. Tens of thousands of pounds. And they
said, you know, she's got it. She's Barbra Streisand.
Yeah, so why didn't she donate the money to charity and take a rescue dog and stuff like that?
Okay, yeah.
But I read into it a little bit, and she did. So she did clone her dogs, which is crazy, and I do get it, and that's bonkers. But she also did rescue some dogs as well. So she now has like 4 or 5 dogs where she had one, and she literally can't cope with all these dogs that she's got. And 2 of them are obviously identical to her previous dog, the one dog that she had.
How can she tell them apart?
Well, that's the thing, is that they do have their own personality traits. They're not a complete copy, and that's the thing that people were saying, is that, you know, if you clone an animal. Should we clone an animal, number one? And if we do clone an animal, don't expect to get the same end result. You know, you might have the same DNA, but you might not get the same person. You know, it's nature versus nurture, isn't it? You've got both going on. So, obviously they have their own personality traits. But the reason that she cloned them, and that this, you know, I'm sticking up for Barbara Streisand with this story because it makes her seem like a crazy, crazy rich person, which she is. I get that. She is. But I'm sticking up for her because the reason she cloned her dog is her dog was kind of rare. It had like a certain type of hair. It was like the runt in the litter, and it had curly hair, which was, you know, worked really well with her family situation. You know, it's a bit like a poodle. It didn't molt and stuff like that. So she wanted that exact breed of dog, which she couldn't buy. So she cloned it. So that's what she did. So yeah, I thought that was a really interesting story. And looking at it from 2 different news perspectives, of one was like, crazy rich woman could have saved thousands of dogs, instead cloned one. You know,
was that the Daily Mail?
I can't remember. It was some, you know, and then obviously
crazy rich woman.
Yeah, and then the other side of the story, where it was like, you know, she come out and she said, look, I had an emotional attachment to this dog. I have the money. I wanted to do it, but I also did rescue some dogs as well. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I thought it was an uplifting story, a positive story, although slightly bonkers. I'm
not sure if I'd clone my dog. He's a bit batshit insane.
Yeah, I can see the temptation of cloning your dog, because we love our animals and we want to, you know, and we have the money. You think, well, would I do that? But what you can't do, and it's what obviously the geneticists and clone experts say, is you can't expect the same result. You're not going to get the same animal at the end of it.
But I thought the point of cloning was that you got the same animal.
Yeah, physically the same animal. Physically,
is it like nature versus nurture type thing?
It is, yeah. You're going to have the same genetic input, but obviously, you know, the same psychological input is going to be very different. It's going to be a different environment. It's going to grow up differently, different parents.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
All right, so what's your next story, Bex? What you got?
So my next story is one that I couldn't quite believe. From the headline, the headline is, a third of young millennials are confused about flat Earth theory.
So, hold on. So you're saying a third of millennials, a third of people in that age range, are confused about flat Earth theory? As in, they think the Earth is flat? Well,
after reading into it, it's a bit more of a sensationalist news article, I think. But so basically, 66% of 18 to 24-year-olds, so young millennials, believe that the Earth is round because it is. So these millennials are sensible millennials.
Yeah.
And then you've actually only got about 4%. This is all in America as well, by the way. Who 110% believe that the Earth is flat, and they believe it with all their being. The rest of the kind of 30%, are just a bit confused about it. They're like, well, it could be flat. I've not really seen anything proving the opposite, or proving that it's true, or proving it's false. So, you know, they walk around in some kind of ignorant bliss. But did you actually know that the first Flat Earth conference was held last year?
Oh, really?
So there is actually now a Flat Earth there is now a conference on something that is bullshit.
Yeah, but I mean, I would love to go, wouldn't you? I mean, just go
just
and
to see what it's like.
Yeah, just go and pretend, and just go, yeah, the Earth's flat. I once walked to the edge and I nearly fell off. Yeah. And
I've also got another statistic. So 9% of millennials said that they've always believed the world was round, but recently they're having doubts.
Wow.
Like some kind of existential crisis, like when you don't believe in God, you know, God can't be real, he's not done anything. But they're believing that about scientific fact, and it's very disturbing.
It is disturbing, because the reason that they're having doubts is not because they're still attending science classes, because they're beyond that age, isn't it? The reason they're having doubts is because celebrities are using Twitter and Instagram and social media to put doubts in their mind, aren't they? I mean, there's actual bona fide celebrities, people who are famous for music and arts and, you know, TV and movies and stuff, who think the Earth is flat. And that's what's influencing that generation. It's not like there's someone on TV doing a documentary going, is the Earth flat or is the Earth round? And they're showing evidence.
Because the documentary is going to be like, the Earth is round. The
Definitely,
end.
yes, yeah. It is.
Here is a picture from space.
But like you said, the article was sensationalised. It made it look worse than what it has. There's only 4% of millennials actually believe that the Earth is flat.
Yeah. The others are just a bit confused because people keep telling them different things.
And do you know what the confusion comes from? I looked at the actual the survey that they did, and the questions they asked were a bit misleading. It gauged from have you ever had doubts or something like that. It was all very led in the favour of trying to get them to say that they've had doubts about the world being round or not. I think if you walked up to someone and said, is the Earth round, and you just gave them a yes or no, 99% would be yes.
Yeah, apart from the 4%.
Apart from those,
really believe.
So I don't think it's a major issue that the newspapers make it out to be, that there's like a whole generation of people who think the Earth is flat. I don't think that's true at all.
No, same.
I mean, the truth is, most young people are better with technology than we are, and most understand there's satellites up there, and without the satellites, their phones don't operate. They understand.
Well, this. I don't know. I don't know if some of them actually believe anything like that.
They think
a magic phone fairy does it or something.
The magic EE fairy is just flying in the sky. Hey, EE fairy, I need some signal over here.
I need some data, man.
Data. Okay, so I've got another story for you, which I love this story because I'm a massive nerd. So, this story is in Japan, obviously, because that's where all us nerds live, in our hearts. And this is a story about a robot who runs for mayor in a town in Japan. So this is Tokyo's Tama City. And there is an AI, an artificial intelligence, a robot called Matsuda, and it's a female robot.
Oh, it's a she robot.
It's a she robot, not a sex bot.
A she bot.
I know what you're thinking, giving out blowjobs for votes. It wasn't a sex bot, but it was a she bot. And the she bot was running for mayor in this town and nearly won. Nearly won. Well,
as in, like, by how much of a margin?
Well, I don't know what the margin was, but it got 4,000 votes. It came third. So
that is a lot of votes for a robot.
But when you think about it, see, I was reading up on this. Artificial intelligence actually does a lot of our law and intelligence services and does a lot of our sort of legal stuff anyway. There was a recent thing from, I think it was MI5 or MI6, where there was a recent thing where they said in future all of the data analysing that they do is all going to be done by artificial intelligence, because they can sort of scan thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of documents for inappropriate text or pictures or whatever, per day, whereas human beings can't. So they're going to get
we're useless when it comes to the robots.
And they can make, as long as you put the right program in, they can make fair and balanced decisions. So what they were
But you say about putting that, you say about putting the right programming in, but if you need to make a fair and balanced decision, you want a robot to make a fair and balanced decision, doesn't the person inputting the program need to have a fair and balanced view?
Yeah.
Because otherwise they could sway the code in, or am I just completely out with that?
So what the AI would actually do, they would so this was it was actually created by a couple of techie people. So this obviously the AI didn't put itself forward to be mayor. It was actually invented by a couple of techie people from big companies, obviously, and I think one of them was Google, and then one of them was like another company, SoftBank it was, and they were both big software providers. And what they would do is, and they put this obviously in their manifesto, that the public would put forward a petition, and the petition would be analysed by the artificial intelligence, and then it would decide on the merits of pros and cons which ones would go forward, and then it would statistically dictate what effect each of those pros and cons would have, and it would put that forward to the council to vote on. Actually sounds pretty fucking good. So this is me saying that artificial intelligence, I bow to our robot overlords.
Please make our decisions for us, because we obviously can't do it because we're shit.
But I mean, if you look at the history of democracy, I mean, was it Winston Churchill who said, democracy is not perfect, but it's all we've got, or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the history of democracy, it's not great, is it? I mean, it's not fantastic. I mean, it's the best we have, but it's not fantastic. But maybe it's time for something else. You know.
We need the robots.
They had a artificial intelligence recently that was diagnosing skin cancer, and it had a 97% hit rate.
Oh wow,
which is incredible. So
that's amazing.
Whereas a human being had something like a 50-60% hit rate with skin cancer, like a trained clinical professional. And you think to yourself, if we
not just like Marc from down the road.
not me just going, he looks a bit iffy. But
that mole looks a bit sus.
Old moly Marc over there, you look a bit suspect. But you know what I mean? I think there'll come to a point where artificial intelligence will be saying, not should we, is why shouldn't we? You know what I mean? It's like it will be actually statistically better for us to do it, and that would take away our concerns not to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my news story. What's yours?
My story is Dr. Dre, the rapper Dr. Dre.
Yeah, I know what's coming. That's what I'm laughing.
You know what's coming. What's coming. He has basically tried to trademark his name against a gynecologist. So an actual medical doctor wants to use the name Dr. Dre, spelled Drai. Mm-hmm. So his full name is Dreon Birch, this gynecologist. Yeah. And he wanted, a bit of a fun, bit of a quirky name for his practice. He was going to go with Dr. Dre. And then the actual Dr. Dre, the rapper, is like, hang on a minute, mate. People are going to get us confused. Like, you can't be doing this. I'm going to send you to a trademark tribunal. So basically, the blokes at the trademark tribunal were like, hang on a minute, mate. You're not an actual doctor. This guy's an actual doctor. No one's going to get you fucking confused. Just get out.
Yeah. And that's what happened.
That's basically what happened. I just thought it was a really funny story.
So Dr. Dre...
Because I could just imagine Dr. Dre going, nah, man, people are going to get me and this dude mixed up. We can't have my name.
Dr. Dre, the gynecologist, beat Dr.
Dre.
Dre.
He's the author of best-selling books, including 20 Things You May Not Know About the Vagina.
Oh, 20 Things?
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a good book. It's short, but good.
I mean, I know a lot about the vagina. I'm just wondering if these 20 things are things that I do or don't know. I'm really intrigued. I might have to buy it on Amazon.
The thing is, you have one, so you can always check the veracity of what he's saying.
Yeah. Be like, that is.
I could get to chapter 12 and be like, I think this guy's bullshitting me.
I've not seen a vagina in years.
This guy's fucking around with me. There's no coffee shop in there.
There's no Starbucks.
But yeah, I think that's brilliant as well. I love that story that Dr. Dre, the rapper, loses a trademark battle with Dr. Dre, the gynecologist. And not...
Giantcologist.
Giantcologist. What's he doing with the giants? That's what I want to know. But the thing is, right, Dr. Dre, in his court remarks, he said, because Dr. Dre, the gynecologist, is talking about bringing out a podcast and maybe like audio books, that would interfere with his music career, because people could search on podcasts or Alexa or these these things looking for Dr. Dre, and they could end up with his things, and he would but
surely that's a good thing for him, because if I'm sitting like, I am never going to listen to Dr. Dre in my life, but if I sat here thinking, oh, do you know what? Fancy a bit of Dr. Dre the podcast, and I said, hey Google, play Dr. Dre the podcast, and like Dr. Dre's music came up, I'd be like, oh, didn't know this was here. I'll just bop along to it. It's like widening his audience.
But Dr. Dre, the gynecologist, had an ace up his sleeve, you see, so that his legal team argued right back, and they said, our client is a professional, he's a gynecologist, he has to have the trust of women. Obviously, you as a rapper, with your misogynism and your sexism and your horrible remarks towards women, you would actually be a negative role model for Dr. Dre, the gynecologist. So if anything, we should be suing you. And that's what they.
And then was Dr. Dre like,
damn, fuck you, bitch. What ended up happening is the judge said, well, you're a gynecologist, you're a rapper, no one's really going to get you too confused. So
you're basically two
you're
opposite ends of the spectrum, so please just fuck off out of the court.
So I need another story to talk about. Which one should I talk about? I think this will be our last one. So I need to pick one that's going to be GMZ appropriate. So what I'm going to pick is something that I think all of the people of Good Mornings on POC and all of the people within our community would really want to talk about over New Year's. An important story that's going to unite women, men, children, people of different races, different religions. The millennials, they're going to feel attached to this. They're going to, they're going to hold on to this. And that's a news story that didn't make mainstream headlines. I don't know why. It made some
Why
headlines.
did this not?
But it should have done. A student, an English student, a student from the United Kingdom, discovers a massive crunchy nut cornflake. Massive. Huge. So he opened his box of cornflake.
Big?
I'm not sure of the size. 6 inches long, actually, is what I'm reading here in this news article.
That is a massive crunchy nut cornflake.
Massive. 6 inches long, this crunchy nut cornflake. And to be fair, the guy was upset about it. I would be over the moon. I'd be Instagramming the fuck out of it. I'd be putting. He did Instagram the fuck out of it. I can see. Look, he's.
Do you know what? Do you know what my favourite quote of this whole article was?
Go on.
Was Hine Lad, that's the name of the guy,
thought
a piece of his roof had fallen off when he poured the massive flake into his breakfast.
Do you know, it looks like a bit of roof. It's huge.
It does. It's absolutely huge.
It's a huge crunchy nut.
It looks
cornflake.
a bit like a shovelled up poppadom.
It does. It does. I mean, and
it doesn't look tasty.
He was sent, because obviously he said, look, this could have. This is a good quote. Actually, I want to quote.
It even looks like it could be something from outer space, a bit of meteorite or something.
Oh, Bex, you did the quote justice. I was trying to do it justice, but I think you've done it. That's exactly what he said. And good old Kellogg's, true to their word, they nearly killed a man with a piece of roof plaster in his family pack of crunchy nut cornflakes. So they thought they'd make it up to him. And do you know what they did, Bex?
What did they do?
They gave him 4 £1 vouchers to buy a new.
Why couldn't they just give him one £4 voucher?
Well, I don't know. And the other thing is, why couldn't they just say here's like a £50 voucher, or here's like a some sort of gift or present, because we nearly killed you with what looks like a fucking what looks like a great big cornflake that's fallen out of your ceiling. There's a picture of Hinai Lad with his giant cornflake, and he's holding it on a spoon, but the spoon's obviously way too small for this giant cornflake, so they've sprinkled some other cornflakes on top for scale, just to give you an idea how big that cornflake is. It's a beautiful
I mean,
thing.
I didn't need the cornflakes on top of it, to be honest, because he's holding it. It is a big fucking piece of cornflake.
There's even a picture that he put on his Instagram, I believe, that shows here him putting it on a scale, to actually weigh it, like 63 grams or something like that. It was.
I mean, this man's just got too much time on his hands.
Yeah.
Bloody students.
Bloody students. But we nearly killed one of our students with a giant crunchy nut cornflake. I mean,
I'd have had to take a nibble out of it, mate, to see what it was like.
Do you know what? But I read what Kellogg said about it, and you really do not want to take a nibble out of it. Did you read what they actually said?
So it says, larger than average flakes can occur during cooking when 2 or more flakes bind together.
Right. But
they told him a lump was made of a mix of cereal pieces and coating that got stuck together during the production process.
That was it. That is what they said. So during the production process, all of the shit that no one wants got stuck together and ended up in his box.
Yeah,
so
nice.
You don't
just
want to
fucking life.
You don't want to eat that 6-inch long crunchy nut. It's like tempting you.
Unless it was just all the coating from crunchy nuts, so that delicious honey nutty coating all together, because that would be quite nice.
It didn't look like that.
It didn't look very nice. No, it did look a bit like a bit of ceiling plaster. I'm not going to lie.
I've got to be honest, Bex. I think this evening we have covered the news stories that are important to our listeners.
That matter.
The ones that matter.
The ones that matter.
Nothing about Theresa May or Boris the fuck my arse Johnson. Nothing about fucking Donald Trump.
We don't want to know about them.
We don't care. I mean, nothing about fucking Brexit or Brexin or Brexout. I don't care. What we had this evening is the perfect type of news story. Things that are uplifting, things that are inspiring to us, like a 6-inch
Things that are
cornflake.
slightly insane and a little bit weird.
Yeah, I think Barbara Streisand and her fucking dogs, man. That lifts me up. You know, the man who doesn't care about
The man who
rattlesnakes or
steals
bears,
over
sharks.
$1 million worth of fajitas. I mean, that is inspiring. That is a man dedicated to his cause.
You know, trapping a human being inside its own brain for an eternity of hell. That is what Christmas is all about.
Yeah.
It really is. So thank you very much for joining me, Bex. Thank you for this special episode. It's a special bonus episode.
Special bonus
Ooh,
episode.
you got a bonus.
A little bit of a bonus at
Yeah,
Christmas.
a
A
little
little
bit of
Christmas
bonus.
bonus.
Yeah.
Little Christmas package.
A little package under your tree. Mm-hmm. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. I'm sorry about the background noise. There seems to be some sort of weird noise. I don't know what that is.
I can't hear anything.
I think it might be just me drinking heavily too loud.
Oh, okay.
That might be it. So thank you very much for everybody joining us. Thank you very much for Bex for being a wonderful host. Here's to a wonderful 2019. Hope you'll
Got to be better than last year.
got to be better than last year. Statistics prove that next year has to be better, or the end of the world. Either way, for us at GMZ, that would be pretty good, I would have thought.
Yeah.
And if it comes to the end of the world, Bex is going to be well pissed because she spent ages trying to, get this qualification.
I know. It's not going to happen. The fucking end of the world. Oh no, I'll be really annoyed.
And then you'll get to the end of the world, and you'll get to your specialist survival team, and you'll just get into the the place where they're surviving, the fort or whatever it is. You'll get in through the door, and they'll be like, "Have you got any specialist skills?" And you'll be like, "Yeah, I'm a trained nurse." And then someone like me would be right at the back, and I'll get, "Actually, no, she didn't actually pass."
She'd only just handed her stuff in. It hadn't even been marked yet.
Literally, I know it sounds like she's a nurse, but she didn't.
She's really not.
I wouldn't trust her. Move on.
And then I would kick you in the dick and not give you any medical attention.
That's true. That's very true. Thank you everybody for joining us.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.